Okay, so welcome to today's overview of how library learning commons can make life a little bit easier for those studying health sciences and services. So I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page when it comes to how to navigate to the library webpage. It seems like a basic thing, but it's not the easiest thing in the world to find. So just to review how to find us, you should see my screen up here. If I just go to nhti.edu, and we have our lovely college website here. If we scroll all the way down to the bottom of this page, you'll see a link to the library. So that's where you can always go to find us. I highly recommend bookmarking this page so that you can stay up to date on our building availability and any hours changes, especially as we navigate our way through the pandemic. Building access and hours do change frequently, and this is where you would find information about that. So right now, since we are currently under remote operations, the library building is not open to students, faculty, or non-specified staff. Even though the building is not open, our virtual collections are still completely accessible to all of you. It doesn't matter where you are in the world, so long as you have an internet connection, you are able to access the hundreds of thousands, if not millions of learning objects available through the library website. And this is where you would find all of that good stuff, right here. All right, so again, this gray box over here is where you would find our building and access information. Should you ever want to chat with us, we staff this virtual help desk with a human library staff person. So if you were to type in hello here, I'd get a ping on my computer and I'd be able to respond to you. So we staff this virtual help desk Monday through Thursday, 7:30 a.m. to 7 p.m., Fridays from 7:30 a.m. to 4 p.m., and Sundays from noon to 6 p.m. So we try and make ourselves as easily available to you as possible. On this page, you'll also find a helpful little web page up here on remote library services. So this kind of is an overview of how we support distance learning. You can find information on the building here. If you wanted to request something from our physical collection, there's a place to do that. And also some helpful information on getting citations and actually making use of our databases. So just a few packets of information for you to explore on your own time. So before I jump into exploring some of these resources here that might be helpful to health sciences and services students, do either you, Mike, or Michelle have any questions? I'm sure you're both pros at this already.
I don't have any questions per se. I know you call this health sciences and human services, but I think on the website it says health sciences and services. Then human services actually falls under social behavioral issues.
Yes, but no, you're absolutely right. And if I said human services, I certainly did not mean to. You will see that when we go to access your course-specific library guide, it is under health sciences and services. I must have misspoke if you heard human in there.
But no, yes, no problem at all. Thanks, Christy.
No worries. It is health sciences and services. And let's say, well, I think, Mike, you're in the addiction counseling program. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's both addiction counseling and human services. They're both in this, like I'm the department chair of both of them. So
okay. So if I were to create a guide for you, would you want a single guide under that one header or two separate guides?
No, you could put it under a single header because okay, both students and all the students in the program basically take the same courses. Mm-hmm. They have two different internships and they have one course that they take separately from the other program, but it's basically mm-hmm, the same courses for both degrees.
Okay, sounds good. So that's something for me to work on for your class. I think for right now, we'll just take a look at the nursing guide just to give you an overview of some of the resources you would be able to find in your standard library guide. And the library guides are kind of curated mini websites within the library page of information that your library staff think would be especially helpful for students taking a particular course. So let's say you're a student at NHTI enrolled in the nursing program. You might visit this nursing library guide to figure out what kinds of specialized resources there are that can support your learning in the program. Here we also have information about building access. There's also a built-in database search tool so that you don't have to leave the guide page to run a database search. We have some helpful tips for searching the library's databases, including a good section on how to use our limiters, which I will show you in a little bit. More expanded information on what those suggested databases hold. And this videos tutorial tab will continue to be built out. These are all working, living pages. So you will continue to find more and more video tutorials here to help you guide you through the research process. I know that for the nursing program, there is a cultural competence component. So here is where you might find some especially helpful texts to support the cultural competence unit of your nursing program. Inevitably, you will have to also write research papers and finish up research projects, including all of your citations. And here is where you would find help doing that. I will also show you some database tools that can help you out with citation. But in case you just wanted to form your own, you can find out all of the information on why we should care about this and when we should cite, and kind of the formula for a properly formatted APA citation and examples of such for different kinds of pieces of information. So that's a little rundown of what we have in your typical library guide. Again, these are curated sets of information by us for students that we feel would be helpful for your specific course of study. All right, I see we have another participant in the room. Welcome. Any questions before I take a look at some other things we have on here for students?
Nope, I'm good right now.
All right, sounds good. So I'm just going to close this tab and head back over to the library website. In case you're really tired of all of your academic work, if you need to take a break and flip through a magazine, we have leisure reading magazines embedded right into the front page of our library website. So let's say you wanted to take a look at the latest edition of Birds and Blooms before you get started with your research. You can click on any of those magazine thumbnails and read the latest issue of a bunch of different popular magazine titles. It loads up an e-reader, and it's just like going to your newsstand and buying a magazine, but for free for you. So please check out the digital magazines that we have. Those are always fun. I'm wondering if we have a student in the room with us. I feel like what I'd like to do is provide a demonstration of how to use our library database search. And what might be helpful is if there were a student in the room who has a particular research question in mind or is working on a project and wants to share a topic with me to look for. So anyone in the room want to offer up a search term for me to explore? And we can kind of use that to really dig into how to use our database search.
I'm not a student, but I teach a physiology and pharmacology course in addiction. It's ADCL 235C, and the students have to write a paper based on the DSM-5.
Mm-hmm.
So I provided them the link and the information for the Psychiatry Online to do that.
Mhm.
And about half of them have trouble finding the link and all that. I provide the link and I kind of walk them through it and all that. But I don't know if that's something you want to look at, or
Sure.
they
So
have to.
can I search the databases for information on the DSM-5 and addiction? Would that work?
Yeah, that would work. Or it's the same thing. It works for all kinds of diagnoses that a psychiatrist would do. So there's the ones for the substance use disorders, but there's also bipolar and everything else, and they can write on any subject they want as long as it's in the
Sure.
DSM-5.
Okay. So what I'll do, and what I'll do is run a search across our databases for the DSM-5, and we'll just add addiction here. So this is how you would go about forming any basic database search. So if you are just starting out research, come to the library webpage, put your search terms in this text field, just like you would do in Google, hit search, and then the fun starts. So I'm seeing here that we have 142 search results for DSM-5 and addiction. I'm wondering if we can narrow the 142 search results down a bit. So some helpful limiters for students might be to use this full text limiter. Let me see. So sometimes as you scroll through a search results list, you'll see this text that says request this item through Interlibrary Loan. Now the library has hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of full text articles for free for students to access. But sometimes we do have things in our records that we don't have full text access to immediately. For those items, we would have to request them from another institution or library, and then we could deliver those articles as a PDF to you. But that process can take up to a week. So in case you are short on time and you need to get your research done, plug your keywords in that search bar, run your search, and start using these limiters. So if you just wanted to retrieve full text articles that are immediately available to you, you would check off that limiter. The search results list will refresh, and we can see that we eliminated 42 results. As a higher education institution, we do appreciate peer-reviewed pieces of work, items that have gone through items that have been verified as being credible sources of information. So we can check that box off as well. Let's see what that does to our results. All right, so that knocked 9 results off. Mike, I see that we have a publication date range that goes back to 2006. As a faculty member, would you recommend that students studying addiction and medical diagnoses refer to materials from 2006, or should we bring that publication date up maybe?
Probably, I would say 2013. That's when they actually updated the DSM, the
All right,
Diagnostic and Statistics Manual.
great.
And so I would do it that because they've changed, especially the diagnoses around substance use disorders. There used to be substance abuse and dependence. The other
Right.
thing is, what it's kind of nice to see is it says DSM-5 using that Roman numeral,
Mm-hmm.
and they actually dropped the Roman numerals from the DSM-4 and they actually use a 5. So it's nice to know if they type in that Roman numeral, it'll still pop up
Yeah.
information.
Yeah, and I actually went with the Roman numeral 5 just in case nothing came up, because that's also a good study in how to manipulate the vocabulary we use in the databases.
No,
So
that's perfect.
I'll play around with that in a minute or two, but I just want to make sure that we are filling out these filters first, and then we can start playing around with the terminology we've used in the search. the filters on the left-hand side of your search results page are very powerful, and they can bring 1,000, tens of thousands long search results feed down to just a couple dozen things that are really highly relevant to your research question. And it is important to consider, the reason why I posed that question about should we push that publication date range up is that when we are looking for research, supporting research information that we can incorporate into our own work, we want to make sure that what the information we're pulling from is actually relevant and still credible. Part of that has to do with the timeliness of the information we're consuming. So if we are trying to write a research paper on diagnosing addiction, maybe we don't want to be looking at information from before this was considered to be a really medical issue. So yeah, it's a thing to be aware of, this publication date range. Sometimes if you look for something like pain management, you might find articles from the 1800s. If you're doing a historical paper on palliative care, that might be relevant, but if you're looking at modern day practices towards pain management, something from the 1800s might not be a great thing to include in your paper. So just something to consider. Let's see. So, right, we have 91. Oh, there we go. I see. So this publication date range just kicked in, I suppose. Let me see if I change this to 2013, we get any more things. Okay. So I'm seeing here that we have 5 results. This one is not in a language that I can read. That we have a limiter for that as well. That seems to have disappeared. So sometimes the databases do wonky things like this. As you can see, my limiters have changed a bit. What I'm going to do is just start a new search with this search term and reapply my limiters. Full text. Okay. And I'm guessing that I just lost those limiters because with just 5 search results, the database is telling me that I should have the patience to go through 5 search results. So as we see here, there is full text finder for these things. If you wanted to take a look at that, just click on full text finder and you'll find links out to the full text PDF versions of the article. Let's say you wanted to use this last article in a research paper. I know that I pointed out that we have some information on how to format a citation, but if you wanted to just copy and paste a citation from the database search results, you can do that as well. So simply select the article record from your search results page that you would like to use. In this case, we selected this one. And you can just hit this Cite button over on the right-hand side of your screen. Once you do that, this window will pop up in the center of your window. Scroll down a bit. Citation formats are listed in alphabetical order. If you are in this field of study, most likely you will be using APA. And then you can just copy and paste that citation into your works cited page. If you ever wanted to save this record for future reference, let's say you needed to switch out your laundry or something, rather than pulling the URL from the address bar up here, what you should do is click permalink over on the right-hand side of your screen. You'll see this window pop up and copy and paste this permalink here. You'll notice that the address bar URL has this session manager information. So basically what happens is when you close, if I were to close this window and I had copied and pasted this URL and emailed it to myself, once this window is closed, this link will not work anymore because this link is specific to this web session, which is why we always want to grab the permalink for the article, which lives on the right-hand side of the page. Just click on permalink and then copy and paste the URL that pops up here. This is the stable URL that you'll be able to send to yourself and then retrieve this article at any point in the future. You can also pull a permalink for an entire search results list. So let's say you wanted to keep everything in this search results list and you didn't want to replicate applying these filters later on. What you could do is hit this share button, and at the bottom of this pop-up, you will see a permalink for this search results page. So again, rather than pulling this link from up here, you will want to hit share and copy and paste this permalink. Let's see, let me go back one step here. I like these results. We were just talking about vocabulary and the importance of using words that the database understands. So when I formed this search here, I typed out DSM-5 with a Roman numeral 5. But what happens if we replace that with 5 spelled out? Let's just see what that does to the number of search results we have. Okay, so we went from, how many did we have last time? 91 search results down to 5. So we can see here, like this is an example of using terminology that the database doesn't quite understand. It doesn't quite understand what this term means, DSM-5 with 5 spelled out. But the database does understand what this DSM-5 means. So let's assume that we ran this search first, DSM-5 spelled out addiction, and we only got 5 search results. One thing we could do is take a look at the list of results and pick one that is more relevant to your research question than the others. Mike, I'll leave it up to you, but is there a search result of these 5 that seems more relevant to you or intriguing?
They're pretty focused. I guess you could pick out that first one if you want. I mean, there's
Sure.
a few people that will pick out, something like that. Yeah.
Okay, so let's take a look at this first one. This really is a tip for what you can do when you just aren't finding enough stuff in the databases. So one thing you can do is, again, pick the title in a search results list that seems more relevant than the others listed, and take a look at the abstract. Take a look. Sometimes you'll see a section in an article record that lists the subjects of that article. Take a look at the bolded terms in the abstract, and then we can start to figure out, are there words that we might replace? I'm seeing mental health, I'm seeing disorders, I'm seeing addiction. So maybe there's space to add one of those other words up here. Just to give you a sense of what another article record might look like. If I open this third one here, so here we see that there are some provided search terms in addition to the bolded terms in this abstract. So here I'm seeing that maybe we might want to add compulsive behavior to our search up here, or genetics, or classification of mental disorders, statistics or descriptive statistics, behavioral genetics. These are all things that, these are all terminologies that might be relevant to include, that might either broaden or narrow down your search results. So it's always good to do a search, take a look at some of the records, see if there's any terminology that you can use to help you narrow this down. And just to review, if you wanted to share this search results list to yourself later, don't copy this because it's not going to work once you close the window. Click the share button, copy and paste the persistent link, and send that to yourself. And that should work. Let's see. Another helpful thing in our database search, we've applied so many filters that our search results are very, very specific already. So that's a help. One thing we can do, if you have a lot of search results, I would call really anything over 50 search results a lot of search results. You might want to check out some of the other limiters on the left-hand side of the database search. You can open up this subject limiter, click show more to see all of them. And what this does is it shows you all of the other subject terms, these are each subject terms, that are associated with the key terms DSM-5 and addiction. And I think I saw up here, now remember oh no, never mind. So here we see DSM-5 spelled out a couple different ways. We might want to apply those limiters, those subject limiters, to include a different spelling of the term. We also see a hit count that shows us how many times the database is finding the keyword DSM-5 and addiction. DSM-5 addiction and drug addiction, we see 26 hits. And as we scroll down, let's say we were interested in I don't know, diagnosing internet gambling as an addictive thing. There are apparently 5 hits on that. If that is something that you were researching, you could just click on that, hit share, copy, paste the persistent link to the page. If you wanted to grab a citation for this article, you just click on the record, hit cite, scroll down to your preferred format, copy and paste into your works cited page. And again, within this article record, you have links out to HTML full text, PDF full text, and you have this other list of subject terms. Oh, and I do want to mention that most of the time when you see HTML full text, you will have, oops. Of course, I said most of the time when you see HTML full text, you will, oh yes, you will have the option to listen. So if it's an HTML full text document, you should also have the option to listen to a recording of the article, kind of like an audiobook. Okay, so that's a very rough and ready but brief overview of how to get to some of the health sciences and services resources via the library website. Any questions about this resource that I've been working through, this database search tool? Is there another search that you'd like me to run? Anybody?
I don't have one specifically, but Michelle Wade put up a question on the chat that she
Oh,
didn't see
I'm
it.
so sorry. I've been missing the chat.
Like she had a question about diagnostic medical sonography and it wasn't there.
Diagnostic medical stenography, is that correct?
Yeah,
so.
when you were originally, when you went through the list and there was like nursing, it wasn't for the search as far as the database. It was just your listing.
Oh.
It had radiologic technology. And I don't know if that matters. Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so these are our library guides. If you are enrolled in a course or teach a course that we don't have a library guide for, just let me know and I'm happy to create one. Or let your faculty member know and they can reach out to me and I can create a guide for that course. These are the courses that faculty have reached out to me and asked for a guide. So I've created one, or they are pre-existing guides that I have updated. So if you don't see a guide that you'd really like to have, just let me know and I'm happy to make that for you.
Okay.
I think just at the moment, these are the 4 courses that we have right now.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Yeah, of course. And in case, I don't know how much students may struggle with academic integrity, but there is a standalone guide for that, that more thoroughly covers publication styles and why we should care about any of that stuff. And provides a chance to, if you're really struggling, make an appointment with me, and I'm happy to help format a works cited list or in-text citations, whatever you may need help with, we are here to support you. Yeah, so I think that's all I have for today. I'm going to stop my share. Yeah, is there anything that you wish you knew about the library or have a question about, or anything at all that I can help clarify?
I'm fine.
All right.
I guess I could ask one question. So our students, any projects that they do, they have professional memberships to research, journals and things like that. So they don't actually use the library very much.
Okay.
But for my accreditation, they fill out a resource survey
Mhm.
to ask them about their library. And of
Yep.
course, we have our own little library over in our building for our programs.
Mhm.
But so I don't know what you have to offer in the library that I should be telling students about. So maybe they don't have to use the library for work that I assign them, but I'm wondering how to get them to use the library at all.
Well, I think the key to that is ensuring that library materials are incorporated in the curriculum. So if there is already an expectation that students have personal access to professional resources, then that kind of takes the library out of the equation, because we are no longer being looked at as the information resource provider for the student. It then becomes their responsibility to seek out a subscription for something else, when the library may already have those articles or whatever, what have you, in our holdings.
Yeah, I think that's the problem, that most of the articles that we need them to research are things that you can't find for free. You know what I mean? So I don't know if you can look up the American Institute of Ultrasound and Medicine and see. I know they have some free resources, but students can get that by going directly to that website. You know what I mean?
So if they are open access journals, and by all means, send them out online if they're freely available already. But if there is, I don't know, is there a publication title you had in mind? I can run a quick search on our publication search tool.
You mean, so yeah, so that's one of them is the American Institute of Ultrasound and Medicine.
Institute.
I know, right?
Let me see if anything comes up with that. Is it this one?
Yes.
Okay, so this is showing me that we do have full text access to that.
Okay.
So if I open this, we have full text access to this journal via 3 different databases.
Okay.
One of them has it from 1982 through the present. These two offer full text access. Same date ranges. The only snag is that the first two databases have a 1-year embargo on their articles. So it would be a year beyond publication date that those are available as full text. We do have them full text now via Wiley. So if I click on that, we can see volume and issue numbers. Click on any one of them, and you can see access provided by us.
Okay,
And
good.
if I wanted anything, I could just click PDF. Oh, great. And of course, now that I am doing this with you and
Yeah.
recording, it's not working. I'm sorry that it's not working right now, but it might take me a minute to find a workaround to that link issue, but we do have these available as full text online.
Okay.
Is there another frequently used publication that maybe you're directing students to not via the library?
Right.
Just to see if we do have it on here.
You can look up the American College of Radiology.
Oops. Okay, so that is not one that we have on here.
Okay. Or Radiographics, I think is the name of a
Oh,
journal.
okay. The searching can be very specific. American College of Radiographics?
Or just plain old Radiographics.
I'm not sure if it'll recognize that. Okay, any of these look, maybe this one?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's a review publication. Whoops. Okay, so here I'm saying we do have full text access. I'm not sure if whatever resource your students are using also has a 1-year embargo on articles. But we do have full text access from 1981 to present.
Okay, good.
It would just be a 1-year delay before students are able to access the full text of articles.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah. So we have a lot. It can just be a little tricky to find sometimes. And I understand that with remote learning, virtual classrooms, there is so much technology that we are all trying to manage and navigate and, connect with our students. So rather than having to make anyone learn anything new right now, I'm really trying to encourage people to contact me, contact the library, see if there's a way that we can connect you to an information source individually so that you don't have to spend the time doing that. So if you encounter a student who seems to be struggling or might just benefit from having a research partner, definitely be in touch with me, and I'm happy to reach out to the student as well. Yeah, but I'm glad that we were able to look up a couple of publication titles that we thought maybe the library doesn't have those, but we do. Yeah.
So if I send you a list of publications that we frequent, because
Yes.
I can't come up with them off the top of my head for some reason,
Mhm.
you could put that under the Allied Health under
Mhm.
DMS tab, so they could go right there to find
Yes.
it.
Yes,
Okay,
absolutely. And actually, I'm sorry, were you the person who had asked about not seeing the research guide under that health
Yes,
section?
yes,
Okay,
yep.
okay. So what I can do is actually create a guide and embed, even if you wanted PDFs of specific articles, I could embed PDFs into the guide so that students don't have to do any clicking or searching.
Okay,
They would just be information objects embedded into the guide, readily consumable by students.
excellent.
Yeah, so if there's, and Mike, that goes for you too. If there's a reading list or anything that you'd like available to students online, just let me know and I'm happy to put that together.
Okay, we'll do. I'll kind of check around and see what's on there and what we need. Maybe have you put on
Yeah.
there, but thanks.
And actually, what might be helpful for both of you is to take a look at the, let's see, the Digital and Open Educational Resources Guide for faculty. I'm going to paste the link to that in the chat. So that is a faculty-oriented guide that kind of walks you through some of the open educational resources that we have. So if you click through the specialized, here, let me share my screen. So this is the Digital and Open Educational Resources Guide for faculty. So here we have Faculty Select, we have OER Commons, Merlot, OpenStax, and these are all databases of open educational resources that have been collectively shared amongst higher education institutions. And these are browsable by subject. You can search for specific titles if you wish. But we have these huge repositories of free to use or already paid to use resources that you can share with your students. And as an institution that promotes open access to education, I feel like part of our responsibility is to make attending school and purchasing materials, if we require them to be purchased, as affordable and accessible as possible. So making use of those repositories of open educational resources is really important in my view. And the more that we can host through the library, the better, I think. If we could have a unified place to really hold information that's useful to students, that would be wonderful. But that's the goal. But yeah, Michelle, if you shoot me an email and let me know what readings you'd like on a LibGuide for your class, that would be great. I can get to work on putting that together for you. Okay, but I think if there aren't any other questions, I think we're good to go. Yeah. All right. Well, I am very glad that.
Nope, just saying thank
Oh, I'm really glad that the three of you were able to join me today. I hope you learned something, and yeah, take care, everybody. Have a wonderful semester, and I cannot wait to see you all in the library soon. All right, I will end the meeting for all. Thanks again, and see you all later.
you later.